Okay, perfect. Welcome, welcome. Thanks again for being here. Thank you also to my clients who invited friends. That's how we share the love and we make sure that more people can get to feeling better. So I'm so glad that you girls are here. Thank you for being here. I always like to check in when I'm doing anything like this and just kind of see like, hey, where are you coming in at? Are you just curious? Are you coming in like skeptical? Like you've tried everything else and you're like, you doubt like, but maybe checking it out. Are you tired? Are you hopeful? Are you ready to like find something that finally makes sense for you? Where are you coming in at? And there's no right way. I've had several girls this week tell me, I'm so sorry, I'm skeptical. I'm like, no, I wouldn't have it any other way. I get it. This is
Well,
how I come in.
I just was curious because I know some friends that you've helped, so I just wanted to observe like what just learn a little bit more of what you do.
Nice. Good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. What about you, Tara? How are you coming in? Curious, tired, hopeful, ready,
Oh,
skeptical?
no. I just saw your email. Like I was just checking my emails and I'm exhausted. So I know the year before I did this a year ago, right, with you. So I don't know. Just have a quite a few things changing in my life right now, taking care of my mama. So there's a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff going on, and I don't know. I just happened to see your email, so I thought I'll just jump on and say hello.
Oh
At
man, I'm
least.
so excited. Sometimes I send out emails and I'm like, I wonder if anyone reads them. And now I know. Now I know. So thank you, Tara, for being here.
It was
Awesome.
literally like what 30 minutes ago I seen it. So I'm like,
Nice.
wow, Central Time. When is that? Oh, that's in a half an hour. I guess I can jump on for a minute.
I know, right? Good. Well, I'll try to honor your girls' time. And since we're not that many, it shouldn't be too much time here, but thank you so much for being here.
Mhm.
So Kathy, Sue, and Mary Jo are actually clients. They're in our community. So thank you so much for being here, girls. That's so kind of you to share your 30 minutes with us as well. So, all right. So this is basically I'm just going to have everyone kind of mute themselves though, just so we don't get too much background noise. This is just an invitation to a conversation. We're not going to really learn anything today. I don't have any PowerPoint prepared. But basically, just to share with you ladies, like, what does it look like to be supported and what does it look like to be resourced? Like, what does that mean, anyways, in real life? So by the end of this conversation, you'll kind of know, like, okay, resource, like, what does that mean? What does it actually look like in real life? Um, Also, we're going to kind of see why so many people feel so stuck, even though they know everything. We say like everyone nowadays could like write their own book. Like we're so educated, right? Um, and yeah, we're going to see a little bit. I am going to share a little bit about you, like what my coaching program is about, what the community is about, what my private work is about. So I'm looking forward to sharing that too. So one of the problems that I just kind of wanted to share that I've observed, and I'd love to hear your guys' kind of insights on this as well, is that most people nowadays that I tend to attract, right? They're super overwhelmed. I don't know how else to say it. It's so overwhelming out there right now, and you can see that even with kids nowadays. They're overwhelmed, right? There's just too much of everything. There's too much information, so many opinions. We were not meant to have access to everybody's opinion on planet Earth. Like we're literally supposed to have like 10 people's opinion at any given time, right? But now we can just plug into thousands and thousands of people's opinions. There's so many fixes out there, so many theories, and so many people talk with like such confidence, right? Like this is the way you have to do it, right? But I find that instead of this bringing people clarity, there's just a lot more anxiety. Like I'm not doing this thing. I need to be doing that thing too. So much health anxiety now, people anxiety, people, they're so worried about their bodies. They're so worried about healing. They're monitoring their symptoms. They're second guessing every food they eat. Are they missing something? Do they need to start doing this like one exercise that they said on the internet, like I have to do this move or drink celery juice, or I don't know. It's just a never ending amount of things that are coming at people every day. So if you feel overwhelmed, I see you. I get it. And this is not a place to overwhelm you and give you a bunch of like to-dos that don't actually move the needle. Yeah. So if you are a person who doesn't want more, but who actually wants maybe less, but something more specific, not so vague, so less noise, less information, fewer tabs open kind of thing. And you want to actually understand your body. You want to actually understand your symptoms. You want to actually understand your emotions. You want to actually understand those thoughts. And you want to know, okay, so what do they mean? What exactly is going to move the needle here? How can I feel better? How can I feel more peaceful? Then you're in the right place. So I'm excited to have you. So I wanted to share what it's like to be resourced with kind of just a metaphor that like really like every time I think about it, it just really helps me understand the mind body connection, but also what it feels like in your body to be resourced. So this is an invitation to just imagine. You can close your eyes or you can keep them open, whatever feels better for you. But just imagine you're driving down the road. It's a Sunday afternoon. The roads are empty. Nobody's around. And you come across a car accident and there's just one person and they are injured and they are alone. You are alone. You do not have a first aid kit. You have no skills in this department. You don't know CPR. You don't have anything to bandage them up with. And you grab your phone and there's no signal. Just take a minute and notice like what happens in your physical body, just even thinking about coming across a scenario like that. Just kind of pause and see how your body is always listening. And just notice if you want to share in the chat, like what came up for you in your body, just imagining that scenario. And of course, we know this is not literal, but it doesn't matter. Your body doesn't care if it's literal. It doesn't know what that means. What came up for you in your physical body? And we're a small group, so you can drop it in the chat or you can just raise your hand if you want. Yeah, perfect, right? So we have pressure in the chest. I flinched when you said no signal, panic. Yeah. So this is like just such a great example for us to see like, oh, the physical body, it is always listening and listening for its cues. Okay, so now let's just imagine another scenario. So just kind of shake that first one out. So now imagine it's still Sunday afternoon, the roads are empty, you're driving down the road, but you are in an ambulance because you are an EMT. And you are not alone. You have your like buddy next to you who's a very experienced. You've been doing this for years and you happen to come across the same exact accident, the same exact person who's all alone and he's hurt. But how do you feel this time? Just take a minute and try to feel it in your physical body. It's like, how does that feel different in your physical body? I'll just give you a minute just to kind of think about that. Yeah. So we got like the sensation of just feeling like equipped, confident, ready, like a sense of ease, confident. On Tuesday, a few people said even excited, not in like a cringy way, but this is what this is what I'm resourced for. This is what I do. Yeah, the anxiety disappears. So this is a perfect example, right, of how situations outside of ourselves don't have to change, but the inside of us can change when we are supported and when we are resourced. This is a perfect example. So what does it have to do? None of us are probably, well, some of you might be EMTs, but maybe not. So what does this have to do with real life? So I want you to think of kind of some resources that a human being could have. And maybe you have these already. And if you do, well, then you are ahead of the game. And that's beautiful. What if someone was resourced with the fact that no matter what, they would not be abandoned by the ones that are important in their life? Think about that resource, like really having this thing inside of you that says, no matter what, the people that really matter, they will never abandon me. How easy would it be to say yes to things you want to say yes to and no to things you don't want to say no to? It'd be a no-brainer. It's like, well, of course I can say no if I don't feel up to it. They're not going anywhere. You have this resource, right, that says, no, no one's abandoning me. I have this, ability to say yes or no. No panic, no overthinking it. What if you were resourced with an understanding of your biology and you knew that your body is in a constant state of adapting to life? And so your body knows how to build up cells, your body knows how to break down cells, and it's doing it on purpose to help you in some way. What if you were resourced with that knowledge? What would happen to health anxiety? All of a sudden, you wouldn't panic every time you're like, oh, I have a symptom. Oh, my body's doing something. It's reacting to something in my life. No biggie. That's what being alive is. What if you were resourced with a strong knowing of inner worth? Like where you know you're worthy, you know you're valuable. What would happen if you were criticized? Nothing. You would know it has nothing to do with your value or your worth because that's a resource you already have. And the criticism would just feel like something that you can keep in mind. Maybe it applies, maybe it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect you too much because you have this resource of inner worth. What if you had the resource of knowing that you didn't have to be perfect to be loved? That just because someone is perfect doesn't mean they're loved more. Imagine the things that could shift in your life if you had this resource. So this is kind of what support and resource looks like. This is how it shows up in our everyday life. So life doesn't change. Other people don't change. External stuff doesn't change. Life is going to keep lifing. Your family members are probably going to keep being your family members. They're probably not doing the work that you're doing. And that's okay because when the inside gets resourced, it's okay. It's okay. It's easier to be yourself. It's easier to let other people be themselves. Everything feels safer. Everything feels more peaceful. Everything feels less urgent, less emergency, less, do or die kind of thing. This is what feeling resourced looks like. So the framework that I like to use in my coaching practice is a framework around kind of a map. And I like to think of it as a resourced map. So kind of picture like a four-step process. So your body's always giving you signals. And I find that in general, the three main signals your body will be giving you when you're divided in some way, where something is off, something is not aligned, something's not in flow, whatever you want to call it. So one, you'll get ruminating thoughts, right? So if you get those thoughts that loop and loop, that is a signal from your body. Two, you'll get kind of the same flavor of emotion that doesn't seem to ever go away. That's another signal you can be getting from your body that says, hey, something needs to be looked at here. Something is not okay here on some level of consciousness. So we've got those thoughts, we've got those emotions, and then the third signal, of course, would be when things show up as physical symptoms, right? It's like, hey, There's something adapting in my body to something that is going on in my life. A signal is an invitation, right? It's not a problem, but it is a message that some people choose to get to know better. So the second step is we understand them, right? So I have a map that I use. And of course, my clients that are here are more familiar with this, but it's a map that's based on 70,000 CT scans. So this is not just like a map that, some very smart lady came up and talked to 100 people and said, okay, this means this and that means that. No, this is a kind of map that you can actually see in your brain. So this has been mapped out for us already. And this map helps us to see, okay, what does this organ tissue, let's say it's a physical symptom you're dealing with. It's like, what does this organ tissue do for a living? What does this organ tissue know how to do as far as adapting? So for example, let's take the ears, right? So many people have different kind of ear things going on. What do your ears do for a living? Think about it. Taste? See? It's like, no, ears here. Okay, ears here. Okay, so what kind of adaptations do your ears know how to do? So your ears know how to up the volume so as to hear better. Your ears also know how to lower the volume so that you don't hear. People don't know this about their ears, but it knows how to do stuff, right? So again, we look at, okay, we look at the physical symptom, then it's like, okay, what does that organ tissue know how to do, right? What is it responding to? It's not breaking, it's not malfunctioning, it's responding to something on purpose because it's amazing, more amazing than we could imagine. And then the third step is this. Okay, why is it? Why is it responding to that? What is missing in my life? What resource is missing in my life so that my ears think that I can't hear this? What is missing? What do I need to know? What do I need to embody? What do I need to shift in my life so that my ears get the message that it's okay. I can hear this. I got this. It's okay. I don't need you to adapt for me. Yeah. And then the last step is integration, right? It's like, okay, so we get the resource, but then we actually have to practice living with that resource, right? It takes time to kind of repattern these subconscious kind of old patterns that we have that are kind of outdated and based on probably something from childhood, right? Something in childhood that we couldn't handle hearing, but now we're adults. So guess what? It's like, oh, I can hear that, right? But these programs, most of them were kind of patterned before 7 years old. And maybe this is something you girls have already heard before, right? But most of our subconscious patterns are from a 7-year-old, 6-year-old, 5-year-old, or 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 2-year-old version of ourselves. So this is that opportunity, right, to upgrade, to update these old programs that did help us when we were kids, but we don't need those same programs now. All right, so this isn't about fixing. This is about actually paying attention to the signals, understanding biologically why they make sense, and then giving our body the resource that it needs so it doesn't have to adapt anymore, right? And it's that simple. It makes me think a lot of, I know it's dark right now, but my house has these morning sun windows. And if you were to come over here and see all my plants, they're all adapting. They are not broken. But guess what they are all doing because they know how to do it. What is one of the resources a plant needs to survive? Sun, right? Light. So all of my plants, if you were to come over, what are they doing? They're all leaning. Where are they leaning towards? The windows. It's such a beautiful example about how everything was designed to adapt to their circumstances. It says, hey, what do I need to do here to get what I need? And it's like, oh, I need to lean this way, right? How do I resource my plants? Well, one, every few days I can spin them. right? So basically they're like, wah, 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 wah. Yeah. Or I could even move a plant entirely and say, you know what, this plant obviously needs full sun. I need to move this plant to a full sun location, which I do not have. So probably I don't need that plant, do I? But this is an example of something that we see in nature and we're like, oh, it's not broken. Who would go to someone's house and say, your plant is broken? Your plant is malfunctioning. No, and everyone would know right away, oh, it's missing part of its resource. And so it's trying to figure out how to make it work. Yeah. And that's what our bodies do too. And once you understand them and once you start seeing it, you can never unsee it. It's amazing. All right. So basically, Resourced, just to kind of share just a few minutes here as we finish up, Resourced is my 6 month community. And why 6 months? 6 months is not forever, but it's long enough to actually get some traction, to actually see some neural pathways take root and to be used enough times to where they can start to stick. So I know a lot of people, right? I know Tara is a gym owner. So, and a lot of you have probably heard this, right? You need 21 days to, well, I say that is not true because we have all done something for 21 days. And on day 24, we missed it. And then we missed it for 2 years after that, right? It's like, I don't know about that 21-day thing. So this is why 6 months, because it is long enough to get rooted in some of these new resources that we're going to kind of install. We meet weekly. So right now we meet on Mondays at 4 p.m. West Coast time. So that's 6 p.m. Central. And these are not kind of sessions where we're just learning. I'm not like capacitating you. Like this is not a coach training, right? This is an embodiment practice. This is learning what you need to learn just enough to then practice it, right? We need time and space to implement. And in 2026, we're going to do a lot of subconscious reprogramming, which requires a lot of repetition. It's the only way. It's like we have to repeat something so many times until we can get through all those layers that are like, I'm resistant to this, until the subconscious can actually accept it. So I'm really looking forward to the fun things that we're going to be doing together. There's two ways to work together. So we have the group, and then the group, we meet together once a week on Zoom. There's always a replay. So, we can't always be on live, but it is great when you're on live. And then we have a community too. So we have a community. So this is kind of like in between sessions. I'll post some things in there. People can comment. You can go in there, ask questions. This is kind of something that I've designed to not be overwhelming though. I've been in other group programs and there's like stuff going on all the time and you're like feeling FOMO and you're missing stuff. And it's like, no, like we've all got really busy lives. We got other stuff going on. This shouldn't be our life. This should just be a way to start to more fully engage with our life, right? Which isn't this. This isn't our life. This is to get us to living our life fully, right? So the community, you can use it as much or as little as you want. So if you'd love to engage and, be messaging back and forth, you can do that. And if you don't, then you don't. So it's a really beautiful space that meets you where you're at. Then we have private coaching. So private coaching is best if you have something very specific that you're working through, maybe something that requires a little bit more privacy, right? Is more delicate. You need more nurturing. My private programs allow you also more kind of time with me. So you have like messaging just directly with me. So it's a kind of more high kind of support. And most of my clients are on a hybrid. So that means they're in the group, but they also have one or two private coaching sessions a month with me. I'm not going to say one is better than the other. I'm going to say I don't know, in my opinion, they're like together, they're perfect because I think Sue was saying this the other day. If I was to privately coach you, you would need a very high end like mentorship with me for me to share everything that you're getting in the group on the private session plus to do your own work. So the kind of group with the private, I feel like it's just like a beautiful blend and it works really good together. But I do have some clients, they're only private clients, and you do have access to all of the replays for the group calls. So that way it can direct you to like specific topics that I think might be helpful to you on your journey. So how do you get in touch with me? How do you learn more? I'm going to drop my email here in the chat. So coaching at rootwellnesssolutions.com. Always have to spell it carefully because there's 3 S's in a row. That's a challenge for me. So coaching at rootwellnesssolutions.com. I'm really excited because my prices are actually going up in 2026, but everybody who gets started before the end of the year, I'm going to honor the 2025 prices. So that means for the private coaching, you're saving $1,500 for the 6-month package by getting started before the end of the year. And then the group, if you want to just do group only, which is an amazing start. A lot of people enter just through the group. It's $197 a month, and it's a 6-month agreement. So, like I said, 6 months gives you a really good kind of rooting with these new resources that you're going to be getting. So, I appreciate all of you so much for being here. I know all of you have probably tried so many different things, and it's like everybody always says, "Oh, this is the missing piece." I don't know. I actually believe that for me, this was the missing piece. I come from 24 years in the wellness space. I used to be like supplements, parasites, mold, like people. I don't know. It was just like stressed out about everything. And now all of that stress has melted away. So for me, this was the missing piece, learning about my biology, learning how my body works, why it does what it does, just made all of that go away. And now when I'm on Instagram, I'm just like shocked at the amount of fear mongering that they do on there. And it's, I have some family members that are like into the traditional, like alternative, wellness. So they're like, it's not organic. And I'm just thinking, oh, for them, it's so exhausting. So I do feel like if you are looking for something more refreshing, something that is not based on fear, it's based on like, wow, your body's amazing. Just like my plants in my living room are amazing, then this is a really good fit for you. So I don't know if the girls that are visiting, if you have a few minutes more, sometimes I like to just hear from some of the girls that are in the group because I don't know, would that be helpful for you ladies to hear from them? Yeah. If you have to hop off, like I totally respect your time, but we'll just take a few minutes here. Kathy, Sue, Mary Jo, do any of you want to like share anything a little bit about the group or your private coaching experience with me? You don't have to, but Mary Jo said she would.
Hi, I'm Mary Jo, and I live in Aurora Grande, California. And one of the biggest changes for me has been around smells. I used to be very affected by them, and through this work, I'm learning that it wasn't the smells themselves, but old trauma still telling my body I'm not safe. Learning that I am safe now and those smells cannot hurt me has been amazing. In the beginning, being vulnerable was like really hard, but feeling the safety that Melissa provides helped me let it all out, which showed her how to help me. This work also helps me to see how things that adults said and did to me as a child, things that were not okay, are still affecting my relationships and some choices I have made. And before this, I didn't realize people could work on themselves like this. I thought everyone just had like a good upbringing. And understanding why I make certain choices helps me let out that shame. And it's allowed me to forgive myself and grow. And I'm learning to be patient with myself and change old patterns. The work I'm doing and the changes I'm making are not quick. There are tears along the way, sometimes anger, sometimes sadness. There are even times I want to quit. It takes humility, but staying patient with myself and continuing anyway is worth it. And I wrote these things down because I knew I wouldn't be able to say them if I didn't write them down.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you for being vulnerable. And I was actually thinking about shame today. You know, shame is such an interesting thing. Like all the things I was listening to an audiobook and it was saying that this young guy with this terrible upbringing and he was really good friends with with his sister, and his sister was like his rock, and he ended up having some sort of relationship with his sister. Right. And so then he lived an entire life with all of the shame. He was only 10 years old, and it just made me think like how shame, right? Like how shame plays out. But once he understood, right, his innocence, once he understood like why that happened, and it didn't make him a bad person, it didn't make him wicked or anything to be ashamed of. It was just life, and that is the way that his body could bring him some safety and some protection in that little kid way. It's like all that shame went away, and of course it was about symptoms, right? And it was like once he was able to address that and face that and just see his innocence, he was a good person. And it was like, this huge like shift in his symptoms. But um yeah, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to have a safe place to share things and see like, oh, I don't need to be ashamed of anything. Everything comes from innocence. Literally. There's nothing that a human being doesn't do that on some level there's some innocence there, like some 4-year-old calling the shots. And I know those of us who've been on this journey a long time, we can see that little girl in us, right? That's like calling the shots many days. It's like I often say, like, oh, that was 6-year-old Melissa. That was absolutely 6-year-old Melissa that just made that decision or just got scared or, whatever the case. So thank you, Mary Jo. We're so proud of you. Thank you for not giving up. That comes from future Mary Jo, by the way. So did Kathy, Sue, do either of you don't have to share, but if you want to, Sue, do you want to share?
Yeah, and I would love to because it's so life-changing. So, what blows my mind about being a client of Melissa's, and especially those one-to-one sessions, the other session is awesome too, but having those conversations, a one-to-one, where I can freely, express and it's safe to do so. What blows my mind is how different things are related, like to past traumatic experiences. It's like, how is that possibly related to that? And then during the session, you come to understand how that's related, which is mind blowing. But like Mary Jo, there's so many things, but I dealt with what I called, and many people do, chemical sensitivity for 40 years. 40 years. And I would have various reactions. My body would have various reactions, from a headache to several days being debilitated in bed, and anything in between. And through my sessions, finding out why my body reacts that way, and I don't have those symptoms now. I do not have those symptoms now. I'm no longer debilitated. I no longer have anxiety about going to a large gathering or someone that has fragrance on hugging me. Of course, if anybody's around someone that has really strong fragrance, that would bother anybody. But I don't have the symptoms anymore because we did the work and I got to the cause of why my body was reacting that way on purpose. So and that's just one of the many things. So life changing. I mean, when you think about that, it's just life changing. So I'm always happy to share that experience.
Thank you, Sue. I want to just share something like Sue just shared is that 40 years was not in her head. I was like, I'm going to do a reel today. So if you follow me on Instagram, this is my reel. Anyone who says like, oh, these are things that are in your head, then they're very uneducated people. It's not in your head. It's actually happening. Sue actually got migraines. Sue actually needed to go to bed for 2 to 3 to 4 days. She didn't make none of it's in your head, right? So this is like an important piece of this equation. Like this is not a program that's going to say like, oh, that's not actually happening to you. Your brain's just making no. This is actually happening. And they're like Sue said, when she realized like, oh, this has a purpose. This is protecting me from something. But once you're resourced and you realize, oh, I don't need protection from that anymore, then the adaptation can turn off, right? It can say, oh, okay, I don't need to have you go to bed for 3 days and have you fear this smell anymore. This is no longer a dangerous smell for you. So again, this is a lot about like updating and upgrading these old patterns that we have in our head. And you can only do that once you become aware of the pattern. Most people have no idea what that even means, right? And so this is what makes the huge difference. So thank you so much, Sue, for sharing. I know that's made a big difference in your life and relationships. All right, Kathy, what about you?
I'm the newbie in comparison to Joe, and Sue. They're the pros. So I've just been in it for a few months. And yes, it's really great. I have a lot of skin issues and just working through and learning what can trigger those and really what's the root cause of them. It's a big shift. I'm going to be honest. At first, you're like, really? And, but the more you stick with it, and Melissa's very patient. I know she's probably repeated some of the same things to me a million times, and it's still trying to stick in there. But yeah, the one-on-ones are really great because you can just be open about whatever, and you don't have to worry about what you say actually. And I was just going to say a little bit about the groups, which I love because between your one-on-ones, it's like reinforces that, but then we also have little things we've been working on. So, but like Melissa said, with very little pressure, it's like one thing, like whatever our theme was that we were working on. And some of our favorite in the group was just being neutral to other people and their comments to you and realizing that it really has very little to do with you. But we think it does. So that week, Melissa just reminds us like, have you been neutral today? And that's it. So it just remembers like, oh yeah. So I do like that. I love the weekly little goals, and then the one-on-ones kind of build on that. But I've learned a lot in the group just from listening to the other girls too. So like Melissa said, if you start with just the group, you'll still learn a lot because everyone has so much experience.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing, Kathy. And she's so right. Like, I think everybody comes in skeptical because I'm just going to tell you, I always tell this to people. They always think like I'm a typical like wellness coach. And I'm going to tell you like, okay, your body is messing up, but it's not your body's fault. It's because of this thing. And then you're going to come to me and I'm going to be like, no, I'm sorry to tell you, your body's not messing up. It's doing that thing on purpose. And so it's a very different, it is very hard to swallow. And when I first learned this kind of lens, I immediately took to it because I had already been in the wellness space for so long. And there were so many things that I could see were not working. And so I was ready to see it differently because I was like, oh, this isn't working consistently. So something that doesn't work consistently, that I'm like, okay, there must be something else. So yeah, it's definitely a brand new way to see the body, see your symptoms. And Kathy, you're such a beautiful addition. We're so glad to have you. And I have not repeated myself a million times ever to anyone. And I repeat myself. I always try to remind ourselves, right? And this is part of the journey, is that like it's okay to need to hear the same thing over and over. That is the only way that anything gets reprogrammed. It has to be, because if we, I think Sue was talking about this on the group call last week, right? It's like something that's been told to you 1,000 times the same way, you're going to need to hear it probably 100 times a new way, right? or you're just going to keep going back to that old thing, right? And I'm sure in many areas of your life, you girls have experienced that. So, all right. So my email is coaching@rootwellnesssolutions.com. I would ask you, this is an invitation, if you want more information, to please reach out to me. That way it's in your hands and you don't feel like I'm trying to sell you something. I'm literally here with open arms. If I don't want to say if this is the right thing for you, I know this is the right thing for you, but I'm here for you when you're ready for it. When you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. Kind of thing. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks. I know we went over a little bit. So Katerina, Tara, Krista, so great to see you girls. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet
Have a great evening, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
you. Yes.
Thank you, Sue.
Bye.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you, Kathy. Good night.